My whole life has been wrapped up, summed up, and stopped up by a single incident, my confrontation with Adolf Hitler. At the 1936 Olympics, the lines were drawn then as they had never been drawn before or since. With each passing day, the Nazis were coming to represent everything that free people have always feared. And during the 36 Games, Hitler found a new target, the United States Olympic team.
The 11th Olympic Games of the modern era. A final line of runners relayed the torch, which was carried night and day in all weather from ancient Olympia in Greece by 3,000 youths of 7 nations.
The Olympic Games are held in Berlin, which Hitler has transformed into the showplace of the Third Reich.
So with the eyes of the world upon them, Nazi Germany has really gone out of its way to put up great wallpaper and window dressing.
Hitler ordered that the persecution of the Jews be paused for the duration of the Games. It meant reducing signs saying the Jews are unwanted here. This had to be put under control.
Part of the idea around Aryan superiority really is rooted in this idea of genetics, that you can engineer the master race. And so a lot of emphasis was to reproduce the best specimens, and the idea that the best breeding stock was Aryan breeding stock. Part of weeding out these undesirable elements from German society was to not dilute this kind of reproductive ground for producing the best, most superior, most physically fit specimens. And so the Olympic Games, of course, becomes an arena in which to showcase this. And Jesse is a clear threat to that.
I'm going to try to bring back 3 crowns, that is in the 100 meters, 200 meters, and the broad jump.
Aboard the Manhattan, a shipload of American athletes and officials arrive at Hamburg. The Olympic Games are golden.
As they were approaching this very serious environment in this foreign land, they didn't know what to expect.
The challenge leveled at Americans by the Nazis was this: the democracies were decadent. They bred inferior people.
In a place like Berlin, in which a lot of media has been controlled by the Nazi Party, the other thing to note is that the citizens in Germany are getting an eye and a lens to the world through the international press that is bringing with them stories about athletes to watch, such as Jesse Owens. So he has a target, but he also has a spotlight, and those two things are on a collision course.
Hitler intended to forge from the Olympic flame a propaganda victory for his perverted race theories. But in the ranks of the American Olympic squad stood Jesse Owens, American, and to the dismay of the Nazis, a Negro also.
At the time when the Olympic Games were set to get underway, I didn't want anything to do with politics. And I felt that I wasn't in Berlin to compete against any one athlete, or even Hitler himself.
The Olympic Games said Hitler would prove the greater vitality of fascism. Democracy's athletes set out to prove Hitler's theory was pure poppycock.
My sole purpose with the Olympics was to do my very best.
America's Olympic team has had the additional burden of proving democracy's athletes were not inferior to the so-called Nazi supermen.
They are the favorite, the squad of champions, with the greatest of them all, Jesse Owens.
Ich verkünde die Spiele von Berlin zur Feier der 11. Olympiade neuer Zeitrechnung als eröffnet.
The last runner of the torch relay enters the stadium to ignite the Olympic flame with his torch, and the Games will officially be on.
Newspaper men from all over the world were writing about Hitler's super strong, super smart, super everything, Aryan supermen. But now, those same newspaper men were asking Hitler, who have you got to beat Jesse Owens?
Over 50 nations are represented here today. Competition will be keen, for each country has chosen its best to compete against the rest of the world.
At first, things are looking good for the Nazis, but people are waiting to find the crack in the armor, waiting to find true pictures of Nazi Germany to emerge.
The Nazis were intent upon showing up what they considered the inferior, decadent democracies. They appeared to be succeeding.
Hitler's there, and over the course of the day, he congratulates these conspicuously blonde medalists, Finns and Germans. Big show is made of him meeting them and congratulating them. Meanwhile, this competition is unfolding in the high jump. Dave Albritton and Cornelius Johnson, the two African-American star high jumpers. They're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And eventually it becomes clear that one of them is going to win the gold medal and the other is going to win the silver medal.
First, Johnson, America, a new Olympic record of 6 foot 8 inches.
When it was time for them to take the stand and receive their medals, Hitler abruptly left the stadium.
He just snubs them and he's whisked away. And they say, oh, he just has another engagement to get to.
The media is quick to jump on this and say, whoa, 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 you're not congratulating these Black Americans? What's going on?
He's talking about the need to purify Germany racially. He can't be seen to be enthusiastic toward African American or Jewish athletes. He can only reward Aryan athletes, but that won't pass muster with the sort of international press. So that's why he retreats.
The head of the International Olympic Committee tells Adolf Hitler, you either congratulate everybody or you congratulate nobody. After that first day, he chose nobody.
However, secretly, he would meet with some of the German athletes and he would congratulate them and shake their hands behind closed doors. He wasn't a statesman, he was really a coward. And this just goes to demonstrate once again the weakness of his character, the weakness of his ideology, and the weakness of his entire identity.
The fastest sprinters of the world are getting ready.
The 100-meter dash is the most important event for Jesse Owens. If you can win the 100-meter dash and be proclaimed the world's fastest man, you have etched your place in sports history.
The 100 meters is probably the most prestigious single sporting event in the world. Who's the fastest person? The pressure of not making a mistake is the biggest issue. You can't be distracted.
It's about locating the best part of yourself at the moment when it matters most. In a country in which he is officially a subhuman, with Hitler watching, one mistake, it's over.
Unfortunately, America prepared him for this moment. Being an African-American man at that time, you were not wanted. You were told you couldn't go into restaurants. You couldn't sleep in this hotel. You better get out of this city before sun goes down. So most of the time, that's how you felt.
Die Entscheidung im 100-Meter-Lauf. Borgmeier, Metcalf, Wyckoff, Owens.
This was my chance. How could I let Hitler, his cronies, and his true believers in that packed stadium know that I was scared? I got myself together, overcoming the impulses.
Fertig.
Ready to fly.
Owens wins in 10.3. Second is Metcalf, America. Third, Ozendarf, Holland.
He blows away the field. He equals the world record. He's so electric, and there's this roar around him, and people responded to it, and the crowd responded to it, as one, starting to chant his name. You can't help but be awed. This great Black American star in Hitler's capital, all of the hopes and all the promises, all of the dreams, they come to fruition, and now Jesse Owens is Olympic champion.
Vereinigte Staaten von Amerika.
I think the greatest moment a person can have is to stand on a victory stand, far away from home, and then from the distance you could hear the strains of the Star-Spangled Banner. And the higher the Stars and Stripes rose, the louder the strains of the Star-Spangled Banner would be heard. And I think that's the greatest moment of my whole athletic career.